The fully remote work debate has been really hot these days. A lot of people are talking about it on different platforms. I'm currently a fully remote worker. I've had 9 years of full-time, fully remote work. I'd like to share my experience in the hope that if you are considering a fully remote position, you can get some useful information from my video. The first thing I'd like to emphasize is a fully remote job is not for everyone. It fits a certain type of person or personality. I explain in detail later. The second thing I want to say is a fully remote job is a perk with side effects, and people don't seem to talk enough about the negative effects of it on the remote workers. My experience as a fully remote worker doesn't represent all people's experience by any means. Having said all that, here's my story. I actually started my fully remote work as a part-time employee when I was still in school. I worked for a small tech startup. After about 3 years, I became a full-time, fully remote employee. I stayed there for 5 years. Since then, I've had different jobs, including in-person ones. Like a lot of people, I've been working remotely 100% since 2020. At the moment, I'm not required to return to the office. So in total, without counting the part-time role, I've had 9 years of experience working as a fully remote employee. I don't think that in 2007 or later in 2011, when I started working full-time, remote work was considered cool or a privilege. There were some people who worked remotely 100%, but most of them were freelancers, not full-time employees. It was just a niche market for certain types of jobs, and a very small percentage of companies did that. It's just another way of working, that's all. Back then I was living in Southeast Asia and it was great. The work wasn't super stressful. The area is full of sunlight and warm. There are many nearby countries with distinct cultures and landscapes and a very affordable cost of living. I was in my home country where I had my family and friends. I started working in my room. After a few months, I started feeling still crazy, so I brought my laptop to different cafes in the city to work. I tried many cafes until I found a few favorites, which were quiet, not busy, and with good Wi-Fi. I traveled often to nearby countries to explore their cultures and foods. I met a lot of interesting people along the way. I started working whenever I wanted. Once I finished my task for the day, I could close my laptop and started hanging out with friends. I went to pubs, clubs, and parties. I met many people from many different countries and from many different walks of life. Life was great. I think that was the best time as a remote employee. Right now, after 4 years of working fully remote in the US, my view on fully remote positions has changed quite a bit. The first thing I've noticed is the extreme isolation. It's been taking a toll on my mental health. In the US, things are more transient. Making friends is not easy. At first, I thought it's because of me. Later, I found out that many people, even Americans, find it very difficult to make friends when they move to a new city. The older you are, the harder it gets. If you don't have friends and family or anybody to talk to, it will start affecting your mental health. Even after the lockdown, there are days or even weeks I don't go out of my apartment at all because all gyms were closed during the lockdown. I started doing calisthenics inside, so now I don't even need to go out to work out. Even going to the gym here doesn't mean people want to talk to you. A lot of people just want to clock in and clock out at the gym. They're busy and they don't want to waste their time talking to strangers. Another downside is it's very difficult to build relationships with your coworkers your managers and your skip managers or directors, you'll find that it will require a lot more effort or almost impossible to work on projects that impact several teams or several divisions within the company. I'm not talking about people who started working together in the office before the pandemic and now they're working remotely. I'm talking about people like me who started their roles remotely and have never been to the office. Since you're not there, you don't really talk to them in person, you don't hang out with them during lunch breaks, they don't really know you. So it's really difficult to convince people to work with you or to buy in on your projects. It negatively affects your chance of promotions. If the company has in-office teams or the team has in-office members, it would be even worse for the fully remote ones. Out of sight, out of mind. You're often overlooked for promotions or high-impact projects. You're also more likely to be in the group to be laid off. That has happened to many people. Companies don't want to maintain a tiny office or tax implications for a few people who are remote workers in areas that aren't important to those companies. I'm not here to complain because this is the job I chose. Nobody pointed a gun at my head telling me to apply for a fully remote job. Fully remote workers like me, we chose a fully remote job because we have reasons to do so. I'm just aware of the pros and cons that come with it. I hope you find this video helpful. See you next time.